Hello everyone, back to today's second video. We're going to have a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days for today's second video. This will take us to around the final day of July. So we've just released a weekend forecast. It's going to be a hot week coming up. Still a little bit unsure how hot it's going to get. Certainly the early part of the week will see temperatures into below 30 Celsius. The second half of the week could potentially see temperatures into the mid 30 Celsius. But as I say, a little bit of uncertainty about that because it's all down to timings of weather fronts moving in from the Atlantic and that kind of thing. So if the front comes in a bit quicker, then we won't get temperatures to the mid 30 Celsius on Friday. But potentially Friday could be the hottest day of the summer so far. We'll have a look at the weather extending out beyond that period for today's second video update. Just say that coming up this evening, around 6-7 o'clock, we're going to have the CFS 6 month look ahead. That's just for fun. That's going to take us from next month, from August through to January 2019. So that's a real ultra long range update, but it is just a bit of fun. Right, so I'm going to start off by having a look at the 500 millibar height anomaly flowcharts from the Penn State University. We've got the ECMWF here on the top, and the GFS, which I'll have a look at in a moment, is on the bottom. 500 millibars, 85 feet, is an area in the atmosphere. High pressure and low pressure are being moved around by a jet stream running above. Red extrapolates to high pressure and blue to low pressure. So, in the 7 to 10 day time frame, we find that we've got an area of above average heights with the ECMWF over and to the east and northeast. We've got a big blocking feature back in over Scandinavia. And so the flow on the jet is doing something rather like that. We remain on the hot side of the jet stream, on the warm side of the jet. And with this high pressure just to our east-northeast, we will be sucking up hot southerly to southeast winds. So to the end of July, the ECMWF wants to keep the hot spell going, wants to keep the heat wave going, most definitely. This is the GFS. It's quite similar, but there is a fairly important difference. So it does have this area of above average heights again to the east northeast of the country, but it's got below average heights, or deeper area below average heights out to the northwest of the country. And so the flow on the jet with that is doing something like that. So a little bit more of an Atlantic influence in the 7 to 10 day time frame with the GFS does mean that for a time, just for a short time, in around a week's time, it becomes a little bit cooler on the GFS and a little bit more unsettled. However, that isn't the end of the heat by any means. I'll talk you through what happens as we get to August in a moment. But the GFS wants to have things cooling down a bit next weekend. The ECMWF looks generally quite hot and dry out to day 10. So, these are the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles. We're looking at Worcester in the Midlands today. The red line here is the 30-year upper air temperature average for Worcester. 2 heat waves, really, in the next 2 weeks. So, we've got very warm temperatures at the moment. They'll be lifting up to the start of the coming week, seeing temperatures into below 30 Celsius. A little bit of a slide down midweek. I mean, again, it's hot towards the end of the week. That could see temperatures peaking in the far southeast into mid 30 Celsius. Then we drop the temperature again, but let's say this period is generally a very warm to hot period right way through to the end of next week. Then we drop the temperature a little bit over the weekend before the first week of August, and that's this period here, sees temperatures taking off. And there are some very, very hot outlier members appearing now for this first week of August. So it's possible that the heat is going to peak in the first week of August. That's something that happened in 2003 quite memorably, and also in the summer of 1995. So we haven't by any means done with the hot weather yet, and it could get even hotter, could you believe, as you get through to the start of August. Incredible summer this is turning into. As far as precipitation is concerned for Worcester, so we have a lot of dry weather coming up over this coming week. Around this peak of temperatures on Friday, we've got rainfall spikes. That's a thundery breakdown taking place, thunderstorms moving in from the west, and then after that we have got some precipitation spikes, not all that many of them. So this first week of August could be hot and a little bit thundery, but that's too far away to have any confidence in that. But certainly got agreement for the first week of August that temperatures are lifting up. The white line here is the ensemble mean, and you can see that is lifting up increasingly through this final stage of the ensemble. For so far out, that is strong agreement, really. And we just have to wait and see what's going to happen there. But the first week of August is looking really quite hot, as well as the final week of July. Temperature anomalies for the week ahead from the 21st through to 29th of July are coming out. Hotter than average for the UK, hotter than average across the whole of Europe. It doesn't matter where you look, from Ireland and Portugal out in the far western tip of the Atlantic over to Russia, over here in the Black Sea. We find between those two areas and all areas in between, temperature anomalies are hotter than average. You really have to go to Iceland. Go to Iceland to find something a bit cooler than average up there. But it's a very, very hot sea now, baking hot across most of Europe. Precipitation anomalies look like that. So as has been the case all summer, it does look quite wet down in the southeast of Europe. So from the Balkans to the Black Sea and then down to Greece, it looks like we have above average precipitation anomalies in the week ahead. Otherwise, most other parts of Europe are coming out drier than average. Notice it's a lot drier now across Spain and Portugal compared to how it was earlier in the summer. For the UK and for Ireland, a mix of drier than average or nearer normal. Does look a little bit patchy, so possibly that's picking up on the chance of thunderstorms in the next week in a few places. But overall, it's still many, particularly for central southern parts of England and Wales, it's still drier than average in the week ahead. So this is the GFS for Tuesday, and we find that it's all covered by weekend broadcast. Of course, we find we are bringing in some slightly cooler, fresher air to the north and to the west of the country on Tuesday. That lasting to Wednesday. But then on Thursday, the high pressure is rebuilding to our east, and that starts to draw up hotter air, or even hotter air, from the south towards the end of the week. So that's Friday, and it looks very hot then. We've got high pressure to our east over Scandinavia up here, and then we've got low pressure which is out to the west, and in between, of course, we're dragging up these southerly southeasterly winds which do look really quite hot winds indeed. There's the upper air temperatures at 6 o'clock in the morning on Friday. See, the 15 Celsius iceberg is pushing northwards, and it's even a hotter air behind that across France. So Friday could be a memorably hot day. There's the upper air temperatures by 6 o'clock in the evening on Friday with the 6 o'clock run of the GFS. The 15 Celsius ice firm is pushing northwards and westwards across the country. In the far southeast around here, we're actually going above 15 Celsius at 850 HPA. So that's how we're coming by the fact that we may well see temperatures into the mid-30s Celsius on Friday afternoon. However, you'll notice cooler air is waiting out to the west with these yellow colours. So there's two sort of fronts here. We've got a cold front there, or perhaps an occluded front there, and maybe a cold front there, and they are moving in from off the Atlantic, trying to introduce this cooler air. So how quickly these fronts push across the country will determine how hot it's going to get in the east. If these fronts push across quickly on Friday, then we won't get those mid-30s Celsius temperatures. But you see that this particular one of the GFS doesn't really have any of that cooler air getting any further west than kind of like the Irish Sea, or any further east than the Irish Sea by 6 o'clock in the evening on Friday. So that does allow these eastern and southeastern counties to turn very, very hot indeed through the course of Friday. That's the static pressure chart for 6 o'clock in the evening on Friday. So the fronts are kind of like in that sort of position coming in from off the Atlantic. Definitely the chance of thunderstorms moving into that hot and unstable air through the course of Friday afternoon and into Friday evening. Now, by Saturday, those fronts have cleared away into the North Sea, and then we start to build in this ridge from off the Atlantic. Upper air temperatures are lowering down, so we're losing that intense heat. That's being pushed away to the east. But it's not the end of the heat wave, because high pressure is actually still in control. So as soon as we get rid of those thunderstorms, we go into a fresher, cooler air mass, but high pressure still ridging through the country from the Azores out in the Atlantic, so the high pressure is still ridging from there through to there, as it has been really since May, going up to there. And so we still have this large ridge of high pressure covering like thousands of miles, with low pressure still with the jet stream penned in around there. So it's not the end of the heat wave after those thunderstorms, because high pressure just very quickly starts to re-establish itself as we run up towards day 10. Albeit initially in a slightly cooler and fresher air mass. That is the chart for day 10, and it's still looking very warm. Really, so high pressure is continuing to be stuck over Scandinavia, stuck like Olympic to Scandinavia, with these areas of low pressure out in the Atlantic, possibly threatening some heavy showers or thunderstorms. But then as we go through into the first week of August, look what the GFS run does. This is Thursday, 2nd of August, re-establishing the high pressure, and so we go off and running again into another heat wave through the first week of August. We're into an extended range of the GFS now, so it's unreliable, but certainly we saw it within the ensembles. Certainly the potential is there to have a second heat wave through the first week of August. 2 heat waves in 2 weeks. There's the upper air temperatures for Saturday the 4th of August. Looks really hot again across England and Wales. That's temperatures back to the mid-30s Celsius once more. That's how we finish this GFS run on Monday the 6th of August, and that still looks really hot as well. Look at those upper air temperatures. So no change for the next 2 weeks. It remains either very warm or hot or very hot, just kind of variances on a hot theme, if you like. That's the ECMWF, and we saw on the high anomaly chart, it's going to be a little bit different in the 7 to 10 day time frame. We start off, though, in the coming week, very warm in the south, a little bit cooler in the north. Then through to the second half of the week, well, high pressure still in control. It's still ridging through the UK and going up to Scandinavia, but we aren't pulling up quite the same extreme of heat there at the end of the week that the GFS is showing. So there's the upper air temperatures for Friday. Now, don't get me wrong, they are still very warm. It's hot in the south, but I think that would be more sort of low 30s Celsius temperatures, as opposed to those mid-30s Celsius temperatures that are possible with the GFS. And no thundery breakdown, though, either. That's the other thing. That would be mainly dry and very warm to hot. Not as extremely hot as GFS, but also not as thundery either. We go into the weekend of the 28th or 29th of July. England and Wales still looking very warm to hot and mainly dry with that one. We go up to day 10, and this is how we get to day 10, which is the final day of July, 31st of July. And again, a little bit different with the ECM this morning. The high pressure is going a bit further north, and it's closer to Greenland compared to the GFS. We've got high pressure up there, and that allows this low pressure to start to form underneath it. So by day 10, that's actually turning more thundery, and it's still very warm though. There's the upper air temperatures. They're still looking hot to very hot actually by day 10, but that will be turning increasingly thundery with the ECM. So from around Thursday, Friday onwards, there is still uncertainty about the exact detail of all of this. Up to Wednesday, it's okay. From Thursday, Friday onwards, there's still a little bit of uncertainty. And then we've got the GEM, so again, looks very warm in the south at the start of the coming week. We go up to the end of the week, and that's how we look more in line with the GFS with this one. So the low pressure is again out to the west, but high pressure is building over Scandinavia. Between the two, we're dragging up those hot southerly to southeasterly winds, but with the low pressure to the west, possibly threatening thunderstorms as well. There's the upper air temperatures for midnight on Friday, and they do look hot through most parts of the country. We go through to Saturday, and much more in line with what the GFS is showing. There's a thundery breakdown moving across the country from Friday to Saturday. Upper air temperatures are very hot just to our east. What's happened there, because it's running in a 24-hourly step, so we can't see the Friday afternoon temperature, but I think it would be pretty much in line with what the GFS is showing, that for eastern and southeast parts of the country, very hot on Friday afternoon, but by midnight on Saturday, midnight Friday to Saturday, that thundery breakdown is taking place across the country, and this cooler, fresher air is starting to head in from off the Atlantic. So the GM and the GFS are aligned with one another in terms of developments for the end of the week. The ECM is a little bit different. The ECM isn't as hot as those two, but also it's not as thundery at the end of the week either. We go up to day 10, that's how we look. So a little bit unsettled for the north and west, but by day 10, it looks like we're starting to rebuild the heights to the south again. If we could run on another 24 hours with high pressure up there and high pressure ridging down there, I would suspect we'd find a large ridge beginning to form in that sort of position. And so we would probably, if we could go out into the first week of August with GM, which we can't, but if we could, we would probably go off and running into another heat wave through the first week of August. So it's still a little bit uncertain for the end of this coming week. Now, what we can say is that we're going to start the week hot. So temperatures on Monday are going to be up to 32 or 33 degrees in the south. Tuesday, again, very hot in the south and the southeast. I think it turns a little bit cooler in the west. Wednesday looks a bit of a cooler day. And then what happens as we get through to the end of the week? All models are in agreement it will be very warm to hot at the end of the week. It's just a question of how hot will it get, and will we get those thunderstorms moving in from off the Atlantic as the GFS and the GEM are hinting at, or will it stay mainly dry? And albeit not be quite as hot, but mostly dry and still very warm to hot, as the ECM is showing. And then the first week of August, all the evidence is there that we may well go into another heat wave through the first week of August. So this long hot summer has still got plenty more life left in it, I think. It certainly isn't by any means over yet. Right, check out weekend forecast, and also this evening we're going to have a CFS 6-month look ahead just for fun, looking at August through to January, so come back for that. This evening, tomorrow, where we're going to have some more autumn analogues, we'll have the Gauss Weather's sunny roundup, and we'll also have another long-range update looking at the Meteo France and ECMWF seasonal models, and they'll take us to the end of the year too. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.